And we're sailing from Finland to Estonia today. So behind me is Helsinki, and in front of us is Tallinn. Welcome back to Sailing Northern Breeze. In our 31st episode, we're on our way to a new country again. This time, it's Estonia, our 6th country this year, if you're counting. It's supposed to be a relatively calm day, which is good, since we've had those rigging issues. We've replaced the cap shroud turnbuckles, but we still got one with a very small crack on a D1 shroud. Less important, but still it's an issue. So we'd like to keep the loads low, not stress the mast and the rig too much, and that's our plan. This boat was designed strong for unlimited time offshore in any weather that can happen. Winds of 40, 60 or more knots, it should be okay. So if we only have about 20 knots today, we won't be anywhere near the design loads that this rig can withstand. We'll be fine. It's quite calm as we leave Helsinki, if a little overcast, but we're looking forward to a new country. We really enjoyed this city and its people, and it will be a nice sail to a new place. We're not quite halfway, it's about 46 miles. We're about 29 left to go, so I guess we've gone about 17. And it's kind of breezy. Winds about 17 knots right now, gusting to 22. Seas were only supposed to be 0.7 meters, but we got a few bigger than that. I guess that's probably the average, 0.7 meters. We're burying the bow a few times. Front hatch wasn't quite shut, so the front head got a little water in it, but it's all good now. It was shut, but it wasn't screwed down tight. So we're good. See if I can catch one of these where we bury the nose. And we got third reach that remain. And we don't have much of our head sail out either. But we're doing better than 6 knots. So if we put more sail up, we could easily do 7 or 8. It would be uncomfortable and we'd arrive too early. Tallinn's a busy harbor, and our goal is to get there around 4:30. Because there are ships coming and going all the time. There's a 15-meter wide channel to get into the inner harbor, and I don't want to be in a 15-meter wide channel with one of these cargo ships or one of these ferries. So we'll work around them and get in at about 4:30. So 6 knots, 5.5 knots is about what we want to do to arrive at 4:30. Ciao! It's about 46 miles to Tallinn. Conservatively, 10 hours if we're slow. Optimistically, we should do it in less than 8 hours. We're leaving Finnish waters and crossing international waters a distance of about 4 miles before entering the Estonian region, their waters. This international zone, shown between the 2 green lines here, allows passage of Russian and other ships unhindered. While we were in Helsinki, Russia held their annual Navy Day, kind of a military celebration, and a Chinese destroyer sailed through here to join their celebration and help them. It and the Russian warships are only 20 miles or so from Helsinki and Tallinn, 2 national capital cities. The Finnish, Estonian, and all NATO forces keep a close watch on all the vessels here. But this was a particularly tense time. Lots of warships prowling around. Notice the orange circles here. I've added them to show you the charting symbols for shipwrecks. I only circled 10 here, but there are literally hundreds that appear as you zoom in on the charts. There's a very tragic history of shipwrecks here. Wartime and peacetime shipwrecks.
Here are our first glimpses of Tallinn, Estonia. It's August 1st. It's been a heck of a ride today, but there it is. Be there in a few hours. Sorry for the instability. We have a very high tailwind driving us unstable.
The weather continued to give us a little challenge, with sea state and winds, but not significant, until we see this. Coming down from above, on our starboard side. If we look closely further in this clip, we can see it spinning, growing towards the water, shrinking, growing, over several minutes. Fingers crossed that with the wind on our backs, it will keep this system away from us, and it won't come any closer. It's off the starboard side, but the wind should be driving it south, not east, which is where we are. And that's what happened. It stayed away. After several minutes, dissipated. It certainly got our attention. Should we call it a tornado? Any votes on that? Feel free to comment below. Is that what you would call it? I think a waterspout comes up from below and a tornado comes down from above. So maybe that's what it is. It certainly reinforces that weather forecasting is not as reliable as we'd all like. We certainly wouldn't have headed out for a crossing, no matter how far, if this had been forecast. But once we get our pulse back below 100, it was a smooth entrance to Tallinn. We arrived on schedule around 3:45 between exiting and entering ferries, all bound for Stockholm, Helsinki, and further. Sailing into Estonia. Welcome to Tallinn. There's the Viking Line ferries. There's Marie asking me if I'm watching. We have to go through that pedestrian bridge. It looks kind of like a white hockey stick with 2 red lights. So hopefully those lights turn green pretty soon. That pedestrian bridge rotated out of the way for us, and we comfortably moored here in the old Soviet submarine factory launch basin. A very calm berth. Yep, I said that. The Soviets used to launch submarines here, from the factory. And then as usual, we check in and begin exploring. The waterfront here is home to several cruise and ferry terminals, and similar to the kiss and ride at home for commuters, they have a drop-off that I found amusing. And there's a lot of money here, and development. Congrats to Estonia. Things are going well, at least on a few fronts here. Hotels, retail, residential, the waterfront is bustling. And then, within a few hundred meters, we approach the medieval, the walled city, and its towers. Narrow streets and lanes, all very busy. It's not a tourist trap. People live and work here and go to school here. Amazing. It hasn't been torn down for the short-term profit of development any time in the last 800 years. Certainly, some of it has been torn down, but so much remains and is well maintained. The town hall's been there since the year 1200. It was used as a town hall up until the 1970s. They still use it for ceremonial stuff. Friday night in Tallinn. There's some old buildings here. And where we come from, 200 years is old. But not here. 500, 600, 800. It's August 2nd, a significant day for our family. We found an ice cream shop to celebrate. Thanks, Marie.
It's a beautiful day here in Tallinn. It's supposed to be stormy and yucky as the day progresses, but this morning it's quite lovely. So off in the distance, there is a ferry coming in. These ferries come and go all day long. It's just amazing. They have 18 ferries that arrive and 18 ferries that depart every day. This is their natural beach that we're going to come upon here shortly.
The next morning, we head out to see some more of this city. We head across the harbor pedestrian bridge and follow the beach towards a museum in the Marharme Palace. I don't know how to pronounce that. The Marharme Palace is a part of the Estonian History Museum, and it tells the long story of the Estonian nation, free and occupied. We learned of freedom fighters who fought in wars and during occupations to uphold Estonian nationality. It is sobering to see the artifacts and read the personal stories of many brave soldiers and civilians. And behind the museum, the relics of an occupation. Foreign tyrants and local collaborators removed from places of honor and put in this field to ensure that history is not ignored or erased, but taught. I think that we in Canada might want to follow this example for some of the sad parts of our own history.
For those of us who have lived in places that we have been lucky enough to never be dominated or controlled, this is a commemorative park of monuments that represent evil of sorts. Evil in such a demise that they want to control people, they want power, land, and they have a conspiracy all the time. We've just spent a couple hours here in the History Museum of Estonia, and it just makes me want to cry. These people are so resilient. Years after years after years of people dominating and taking everything that is theirs and not allowing them to be Estonians. It's criminal. We Americans are so lucky. Let's make sure this doesn't happen to us.
Iga päevaga enam ja enam üks küsimus vasardab peas. Mis kuradi kohas ma elan ja miks mul ei ole siin hea? Kui hingedelt langemas värav ja sõõrmetes kolkunud lehk. Kas nõrgemad kolivad ära või hoopiski tugevad ehk? Iga päevaga enam ja enam üks küsimus vasardab peas. Mis kuradi kohas ma elan? Miks mul ei ole siin hea? Kui hingedelt langemas värav ja sõõrmetes kolkunud lehk. Kas nõrgemad
And after that very sad few hours, we move on to some turning points. We find some joy, resilience. We head to the Song Festival grounds.
This is the music festival where Estonians sang for their independence.
It's one of the largest choral events in the world, running for over 150 years, and since 1928, always on these grounds, once every 5 years. They've had up to 30,000 singers in the joint choir, performing to an audience of up to 80,000. The Singing Revolution, the Baltic states singing for their freedom from Soviet occupation, took place starting here from 1987 to 1991. It got its name from a spontaneous evening of mass singing on June 10th and 11th of 1988 on these grounds. As independence became more likely as the Soviet system was bankrupting itself, demonstrations continued up to and including the Baltic Way, a human chain of 2 million people. 2 million people holding hands from here in Tallinn, across Estonia and Latvia, all the way to Vilnius in Lithuania in August of 1989. 600 kilometers of human beings, 2 million people holding hands. The singing revolution lasted 4 years, and then in 1991, August 20th, they declared their independence and the restoration of the historic state of Estonia. That day, large groups of unarmed civilians gathered to protect the parliament, the radio, and the TV buildings, and independence was achieved. The Soviets tried to retake it, but the soldiers were unwilling to do the mass slaughter that would have been necessary, so the independence held. And the next step this day is onto a beautiful park on the grounds of the old palace closer to the old city. You want to tell them where you are?
I'm in Estonia, Tallinn. The park of...
Peter the Great.
that's not the name of the park, but close enough. Cadriorg Park. The palace of Peter the Great, I believe.
This Baroque palace was constructed during the reign of the Russian Peter the Great and Catherine, exactly 300 years ago.
Imagine the 1800s walking around this garden, strolling. I suppose that's all they did. Life certainly would have been different for the workers that ran the farms and paid the taxes for the summer cottage.
The festival grounds and the palace parks are a nice way to decompress from the evil of the museum. So we finished the day back to medieval times. Taking a walk along the wall, we visit a couple of the towers. Here we see a model of the historic fortress, some of which remains today. And we are standing inside of it, in the tower. These suits of armor are less elaborate than the ones that we saw at the Tower of London. Perhaps these are more utilitarian, for actual battle, than showpieces of Henry VIII and his court. This tower was renovated after its initial construction, with its domed stone ceiling to withstand cannon fire. That's a lot of mass over our heads, all that stone. For centuries, it's been counting on the structure of the dome to not fall in. They've got a great defensive position from up here, but it would have been a lot of work to bring cannons, cannonballs, gunpowder, etc. up these steps. Wow. We sure are glad that this has been preserved. It is amazing. Nothing Disney here. It's the real deal. Since its beginning, 800 years ago, in the year 1219. There is another marina here in Tallinn, a little east of downtown, another one a little west. They have a little bit lower cost for a berth than ours, but ours is in the middle of the old city, next to the fortress, and next to provisions at the ferry docks, so worth a few extra dollars for a short visit. We saw a few more places of interest. Bustling building next to our marina, a few fancy cars, and then we're off. After a few lovely days, learning a lot in Tallinn. On to our next port, the small harbor of Lohusalu. Sneaking our way between many ferries, covering a short 22 miles. We're going here because this is the port where we're expecting to receive our turnbuckles, our new and final bits of rigging this season from BSI. We'll do a little sightseeing here, visiting some of the beaches and watching the chaos of the Tallinn Yacht Club Summer School. So that's it for this episode. We're sailing with the big sail. Amazing. Love this thing. It's a great day. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Aaron and Marie. somewhere beyond the sea.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me. My lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing.